So no more voice.
Okay, we're recording. Hey everyone, welcome to the Source Code podcast, which is an informal discussion with guys from the pWnAge team about stuff that happened this week and news. My name's Hell's Knight.
And I'm Michael.
I'm Ted.
Yeah, and so, we're basically, this is completely uncensored. Nothing here is really fact, I guess. And it's just our opinions about what happened, because there's a lot of weird stuff that happened this week in the news. First of all, the Borderlands movie was announced. What do you guys think?
I saw the announcement last night. I didn't really go too in-depth into it, with the exception of the fact that the producer is, what was his name, Avi Arad?
Who's that?
He's the producer of a few Marvel movies, at least Spider-Man that I'm aware of.
Which Spider-Man? Do you know?
I think it was the first one, or
The first couple.
The first couple,
I like
yes.
those ones, actually.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what to say at the moment about it. I don't know if it's based off the stories of the first couple of games or if it's a completely new one.
What if it's a reboot?
Purely hypothetical. It could be a prequel to the prequel of the game.
the prequel.
No,
the quality of what it could be aside, the first thing that popped into mind is in regards to how it's going to look. How are they going to compensate for the cell shading style?
Will it be live action?
Yes, I think so.
well, they could pull off the same
I don't know.
cell-shaded
It's
style
most
of
likely going to be
Skylar
live
Duncan.
action.
I wouldn't like it if it's live
And the thing
action.
is, if the producer Spider-Man is involved, it could very well be Sony's involved in producing it. But I don't know for sure. Like
No,
I
it's
said,
it's a Lionsgate movie.
Okay.
That I know for sure.
all right.
But who has the distribution rights?
I
It's not really-
have
okay,
no
fine.
idea.
I know it's between it's between Lionsgate, Take-Two Interactive, and Gearbox. Those are the three that I read.
So
that
these are
involved in
these are
this.
still very early days, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So honestly, at this point, not much to say. Borderlands, I don't know how they're going to translate it into a movie, but there is the potential for it to be pretty good.
Yeah, if they did Tales from the Borderlands, and that's doing really well. Maybe.
Yeah, because that's more narrative than action-packed. So
Yeah, so
there is potential.
What would be more sensible actually is to get Telltale Games involved, see what other stories they could flesh out of the Borderlands universe eventually, because there could be more that Telltale is cooking up for season 2 of the games. It could latch onto that,
yeah.
depending. Yes, still purely hypothetical, but that's an idea.
But honestly, we don't really know much at this point. And it's
Yeah.
probably going to be another year or so before we get
Exactly.
any other glimpse of info, assuming it won't be cancelled.
Yeah, good point.
Speaking of movies that may or may not have been cancelled, just yesterday as well, the Assassin's Creed movie had some life, breathed into it.
I heard about
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes, Michael Fassbender was dressing up as some random assassin. We don't
Assassin,
know who or what he is.
He's
I,
dead.
I wonder what pay-to-win scheme they're going to have to get him to actually watch the movie. Like on the DVD, you reach chapter 2. If you want to continue, then pay X amount.
For the DLC.
For the DLC. That's only accessible
No,
through Uplay.
DLVC, downloadable video content.
Wow.
Ubisoft will love you.
Until you could wait for the definitive Blu-ray edition.
And knowing Ubisoft, they're probably going to have to install the Uplay software in order to actually watch the video and authorize that we
Uwatch.
legitimately purchased it.
You watch.
You watch, yeah.
Look, this is not hate. This is sheer experience.
We're just
There is bias
fools.
because Ubisoft can be quite stupid, but
They can.
let's see what
Everyone-
happens.
Everyone has the potential to be stupid,
That's true.
I think. There's also stuff about the Hitman movie. It's like there's lots of Ubisoft crap coming about. Have you watched the trailer for
Hitman.
Hitman Agent 47? Which is the second Hitman movie. I didn't even watch the first.
Yeah, with Timothy Oliphant. That first one was
Was it good?
it was a waste of my time.
Okay.
to be perfectly
Hitman is
honest.
a very difficult movie to is a very difficult story and concept to translate into a movie where it feels With the game, what makes it epic is the actual control you have and what you choose to do. That what makes Hitman primarily enticing.
And
You can't do that in a movie. And so you either go the route of trying to emulate a specific playthrough as such, which is basically what the first movie was.
exactly.
The second one has just gone completely over the top, where it's an action movie, but it has the Hitman skin.
Yeah.
Well, supposedly
I thought it
a
looked
great
really
villain.
silly, honestly.
But the first one I saw a few years ago, I haven't seen the second one, but
No,
I'm
the
a
second
bit,
one's not out yet. It's
I'm
just the
unfortunately
trailer.
quite skeptical and cynical with quite a few things, so I'm just speaking from bias.
Yeah, me too. We're all speaking from bias.
Yeah.
Well, reviews there. A few reviews are out already. At
For
least
40 seconds for Hitman.
stateside.
Really.
Everyone is saying that it's a bit of a train wreck, but since we don't have access to it over here yet, you know, let's try to keep an open mind. At least that's my attitude to it. Both, a lot of the main actors have done some good work in other properties. Rupert Friend himself, the lead, has done a very good bit with Homeland. You know, he's done some
I
good
haven't
work
watched
there.
Homeland.
Zachary Quinto of Star Trek and Heroes supposedly makes a great villain for the movie. So, you know, from my point of view, we can only hope for the best.
I guess. Well, did you have a
And
topic?
speaking of other news that may be related to, you know, movies and game tie-ins, Warner Brothers and their new game Mad Max, and the whole, in my opinion, of the pre-order exclusive incentive, look, basically bullshit, that they have.
Warner Bros. Basically.
Yes, that they have actually added to their new game well ahead of time. It's not yet anywhere near release, slated for the 1st of September with that other juggernaut known as MGS5, the one that will take all the attention. Right, these are the incentives that are going to come to you as customers. A few hoodies for your main character in game, and some
This
funny.
is in Mad Max.
Yeah.
Is this pre-order?
Yeah, this is pre-order.
Okay.
These are purely incentives. Okay. You have some hoodies.
Hoodies for the desert,
Yes. Extra camouflage, including some.
yeah. Camouflage for the
Some-
desert.
yeah, some green-
blue.
There is a jungle-themed
For the
camouflage
desert.
for the main character as well. I really don't have much information on that.
Right.
If you want to read more on that, please, run over to PC Gamer.
Yeah.
They have a feature with more detailed information. You know, I just read it and I was purely disgusted. Ostensibly, you will pay exorbitant amounts of money to secure said incentives. So I don't know.
You know, on the bright side,
As it
though,
really.
there's a bright side. They're just cosmetic,
Okay.
which is a bright side.
And we can assume that, you know, there's no story content that's been gated off.
Well, if
At
there
this
is, then
point
that's-
in
then
time.
that sucks.
It's Avalanche that's creating the game, right?
Yeah,
Same
the
studio behind
Just Cause.
Just Cause.
And the upcoming
Really?
Yeah.
upcoming Just
I didn't
Cause
know.
3 as well. I think it's slated for December sometime.
I'm curious if that's going to pop up on SteamOS.
Mad Max?
Yeah. Mad Max or Just Cause 3.
Just Cause 3 is.
I'm thinking it
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 depends.
was announced for Linux.
It was announced for PC. I don't know about Linux.
I think it's dependent on the engine one. Because think about it. Assuming they're using like the same engine that powers Shadow of Mordor. I don't know. Maybe if they're using the same. No, they're not.
No.
at all?
Shadow of Mordor, is, as far as I know, is using the Monolith's proprietary engine.
Then I really can't say for. I really can't speak for the chances
Okay. Avalanche's engine, assuming it's the same one that they've been evolving up until now,
from the Just Cause.
typically runs very well. And despite Warner Bros. Being behind it, considering how much they've dropped the ball recently, at least on the PC gaming side, we'll have more graphic options aside from just toggling graphics on and off.
Well, let's see who does the port.
Hope-
WB Games. I'm just saying Arkham Knight is. Has anyone played it? Yeah.
Arkham Knight?
Arkham
Oh,
Knight.
you mean the
Is
game
it
that's the game that's
fixed
not on
version?
sale?
No.
You mean the game
okay.
that's not on sale anymore? Anyway.
Only for those who already pre-purchased
Yeah.
it, and I don't know if did the first patch come out already?
I
I think it's
it
slated
was
to
supposed,
very soon.
Yeah, it was supposed to have been fixed by
There's
now.
going to be a mega
But I
patch
don't
that's
know.
still being tested.
And
That's
that's
supposed
also
to-
coming
yeah.
to Linux as well.
Well, you know, that's if they relaunch the game on Steam with that kind of incentive, then I think, you know, some goodwill may be earned for the
Speaking,
company. Hopefully,
you know, we were just talking about just cause and incentives. So they're giving away an island.
Come again.
Yeah, Square Enix are giving an island away. They have a
Okay.
contest going on where if you're playing Just Cause 3 within 90 days and you get like 90,000 points and appear on the leaderboards or something,
Yes.
they will give you an island valued at $50,000.
Which is basically probably the size of this table.
No,
It's
they
one
haven't.
random mound.
They haven't given any details about the island. It's from a sponsor. Okay.
Okay.
They've only said that it's accessible by boat. They're not giving they're saying that they're not giving details on how else to access it, whether it's habitable, whether or not. But it's just valued about $50,000.
So we have no details on
No,
the location.
even
of
the
said island?
location is not given yet.
Well, at least the winner of this small plot, assuming the world goes into chaos, at least they have a refuge.
I don't know what you could do with an island.
$50,000 plot.
Yes, assuming you can access it, but
Hopefully
you
there'll
know.
be a token palm tree, so at least there's some shade.
No, but you could grow, yeah. Oh, and it also doesn't include like the lawyer's fees, transport there, blah blah blah. It's not included.
$50,000. That doesn't sound.
No, the island is $50,000. But they said that the fees and stuff that's involved in owning an island, they're not covering basically.
This
But
takes
that's
bragging
just
rights
such
to
a-
a whole
such
new
a
level.
It's a
stupid
very
incentive.
random, a very random.
Incentive, yeah. It's quite. I
Look, if
don't
you
understand.
ask
Now, if one of us won it, for example,
Yes.
Yeah.
we're here in Africa.
Okay.
Obviously, this island is not going to be anywhere close to
No,
us.
it might be. You don't know.
Where?
Indian Ocean, near Maldives or something, near Seychelles,
Off Madagascar?
near Madagascar,
Preferably.
yeah, near Madagascar,
am-
near Zanzibar, you know, like near what is this? Lamu.
Very unlikely.
No, it is likely. It's
Because
more
the
likely.
target
It's more
demographic that
likely.
they're considering is not us here in Africa.
Yeah, but I would think that there are more islands that are uninhabited in the Indian Ocean than there are in the other oceans.
I'm thinking.
We'll,
I'm thinking.
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
a lot of these publishers are running out of
Ideas
good
for
pre-order
stupid, yeah.
incentives because people
Why
are
not?
coming up with ridiculous stuff. Consider what's this JRPG coming out? Tales of the Styria, and the 3-tier
I don't even know.
pre-order bonus. As in, basically, the first tier nets you extra costumes for your characters that are from previous Tales games, you know, like their whole 20-year history. Then the next tier 2 is weapons from, again, their history, their back catalog. Then tier 3 is a free copy of the upcoming PC port of the Tales of Symphonia.
Oh,
You know, from, I believe that was
Oh,
on
that's not-
the GameCube, was it? If I'm not mistaken. You know,
Tales of
any-
Symphonia.
well, it's not. It's not.
Tales
that-
of Symphonia was
Yeah.
GameCube, was it not?
No, it was.
Yes,
it was
it was on
also.
GameCube.
It
I
was
think
on
it was
GameCube.
on PlayStation as well.
2.
PS2, yeah.
Yes.
Perhaps,
So
yeah.
you know they're going to rework the port.
There's also a title that was on Dreamcast that I think was also on PC, and there's a remaster coming out.
Ah yes, why are we not talking about this? Grandia 2
There we go.
Anniversary Edition, people.
That's on GOG.
You know, let's give some respect to a very lovely game.
Was it a GOG exclusive?
It's not an I
'Cause
don't
I-
think GOG
recently
have
I-
exclusives.
My memory is failing me at the
Yes.
moment, but there was a title I read that
Uh-huh.
will be exclusive to GOG.
I know
don't
it's
think
on GOG.
indefinitely.
I don't know.
I'm uncertain if it's indefinite,
Uh-huh.
but I do recall that it was directly associated with GOG.
I don't think GOG
What's
do
this? A new
exclusives.
JRPG?
I don't, to be honest, I don't remember.
Because I know with Grandia 2, well, it's been reworked from the previous Dreamcast version. apparently the most superior one. They have added a new hard mode for those oldies, some of us who've played it before. That's a nice incentive. Personally, I think I'm going to go grab it. What else? Very compatible with the Dreamcast file system, save file system as well, the VMS system as well. So anything that you may have saved off emulators that we may or may not condone on this show
No,
can
it's
be
absolutely
used.
fine as long as the BIOS was extracted from your machine.
Yes,
And you're
ostensibly.
using backups of your own copies. Otherwise,
Yes.
MUs are beautiful.
Exactly. So you could use your save files from, say, emulators for the new game. So it's,
Okay, I didn't know that.
I just grabbed that information off
Forward
board
thinking,
recently.
that's good.
It's they have done a damn good job on that port. Yeah. So
Do you want? Did you have a top?
Nothing too specific. Over the last, I think it's been a week, almost a week now, I migrated to Linux.
Yeah.
Linux Mint 17 Mate Edition. I'd been running Windows 10 for a couple of weeks, and after reading on the extent of the privacy issues involved in Windows 10, at that point it just put me off, and I switched. So, discussing Windows 10 is something we can do a bit later. But
We can do it now.
well,
Oh.
yeah,
Unless-
we can discuss it after the intro.
to summarize it from what I've read so far, and what a lot of other users have experienced, is that Microsoft are becoming far more ballsy with the extent of which they want to harvest information from users. Now, there's legitimate reason behind it, which is all well and good. My problem, and what really makes this stink as shit, is that the extent of options that you have to disable it is not present. And on top of that, I think it was Ars Technica that did a small review on it concerning the information being sent to Microsoft. And within Windows itself, when you disable some of these tracking properties, they still noticed that data was being transmitted.
Sorry.
Now, on top of that, even though this in itself is a bit questionable, we're looking at certain torrent tracker sites that, based off this information, have now removed any trackers for Windows 10 to be shared over their torrent networks, and they've taken an extra step that if any user is trying to access their site and it's detected that they are using Windows 10, they are denied.
As in proactively, no questions.
Yeah. Now, Windows 10, when it first came out, you had build 10240. That's the RTM and version that came out that most users will be using at this point, until the latest build will be updated on the respective machines, whether on the slow ring or fast ring.
Yeah.
Now, in the original build, there were 3 different tiers of which you can organize the kind of data you want transmitted, and you could select it. On this latest build, you don't have that option anymore. It's just enabled to transmit everything. Now, obviously I'm summarizing here and I'm not being very specific on the details, but the fact that this is occurring and there's no regard to users needing the option in case they are sensitive in that facet, and also a few more tactics that Microsoft are using which really does not make me feel I can trust them very much anymore.
Fair enough.
So, as a result, the only recourse that I felt was to go to Linux. And considering the rate, considering the focus and attention that Linux has as a platform, and its gaming potential, especially with Valve behind it, and subsequently a lot of other big players and just interest in general, focus toward it, it's going to be a very, very viable solution soon that users can actually switch to Linux. Of course, there are a few niggles that you need to get accustomed to use Linux, but it's been a good experience so far.
Okay, so what's the population like in terms of like gaming titles that are coming over to Linux, or is everything being translated, post Steam OS?
There was an article that came out that showed that on Steam at this point in time, I think it was either 1,500 or 1,600 games that are available for Linux at the moment.
So at this point, about a sixth of Steam's library.
Yes, because I think the Windows library is 6,000 or a little over 6,000. And of course, keeping in mind, on Linux, as long as you're running titles which are DX9, a lot of them you can play on Wine.
For those of you who don't know, Wine is like an emulator within Linux that should let you run Windows games.
Well, in regards to defining what Wine actually is, whether it's an emulator or not, the name actually stands for Windows Integrator, not Emulator.
Feel that burn, feel that burn.
It translates Windows library commands to Linux equivalent library commands, as opposed to other traditional emulators which not only emulate the software but also the hardware architecture as well. Which in this case, because both Windows and Linux are based off x86, then it's the actual software libraries which are being translated.
So with DX9 it should be...
Yeah.
It is, at this point it's actually a very smooth transition.
And the framework for the beginnings of DirectX 11 support were introduced a little over a week ago.
No.
So I'm hoping within the next 6 months to a year there will be sufficient DX11 support, assuming the progress goes as it's meant to. There's a company called Crossover, which package Wine, designed as a multi-purpose tool for using Windows software. Now they are the main sponsors of the Wine project itself. And I was reading up on this a few days ago.
Sorry, that's a car leaving the garage. We're recording in the garage right now, so that's what that is.
Yeah. So the head of the Crossover team mentioned that since fall last year up until now, there's been one very knowledgeable graphics coder that's quite proficient with understanding DirectX and OpenGL that has been working on bringing DirectX 11 support. So on that front, that's once it's sorted, if you migrate to Linux, that's even more of your library accessible that you can play, that you're not as dependent on Windows anymore. Yeah.
Are you on Windows 10?
Well, right now I'm still on Windows 10, and to be perfectly honest with our listeners, there isn't much of a difference between Windows 8.1, from to which I'd been most accustomed and do most of my gaming, and this new OS. It's great with legacy compatibility, depending on whether you actually troubleshoot compatibility for most of your very old, legacy games from the GOG library especially.
That's okay.
Or for a quick explanation, say you want to run like the old versions of Doom that just got released on GOG and you're having issues, you can always go to the Windows compatibility assistant, make the necessary, assuming something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Select older OSs to make them run properly and give them proper privileges. I think Windows 10 actually does that stuff much better with better display scaling than 8.1 did. At least from my experience, display scaling especially was a pain in the ass. But that's one thing I would give them props for. But in terms of the privacy and gaming, I can assure most people that should any software crash for any reason, nowadays Microsoft will get a direct report, assuming you're connected, of your hardware specs for the usual, what do they call them? Solutions?
Error reports.
Are they still called just error reports?
I
Essentially,
guess.
Windows
Yeah.
error reporting.
Exactly. So they do grab that by force now. So be advised. And since you can only really legally play your games online a lot of the time, say for the GOG library, it's not something that I would say is acceptable, really. It's a niggle that's going to become a major issue going forward if they don't work through this.
Look, the actual talent and the development of Windows itself, the people that constitute the development team behind engineering and creating Windows, are fantastic. They're
Okay.
very talented people, and Windows 10 does perform well.
Definitely.
It's not significantly better than 8.1,
Yeah.
but it's not slower. So you
It's not slow.
Yeah,
So,
that's important.
they have that going for them at least.
Yeah.
At least from the titles that I experimented with, that I was testing, I had no issues. And in fact, there was one issue which was actually fixed in Windows 10. There's a Mega Drive emulator called Fusion. Now, in Windows 8 and 8.1, and I think this problem even carried across to 7, that if you try, the emulator was designed to work with Direct Draw. Now, Windows 8 onward introduced, what was it called, Direct 2D, which was like hardware acceleration for 2D graphics, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, with Fusion, if you go full screen, running any game in it, the FPS is cut to 30. Now, pretty much all Mega Drive games, for example, run at either 50 FPS for PAL and 60 for NTSC.
Yes.
But it would not perform at the full 30 FPS, and you had to either use this program that Microsoft provided where you can actually edit properties of the file to enable this direct draw compatibility, or a DLL which you put in the folder that when the exe runs it applies that fix.
Yeah.
With Windows 10, that doesn't happen. That's performing fine now.
So we can assume that in Windows 10, we have full Direct Draw and Direct 2D support regardless.
At least from my experience using Fusion as an example, yes.
Do you guys know anything to do, speaking of emulators, in fact, what's the state of PCSX2, the PlayStation emulator?
From what I've been following, there's definitely a lot of progress, and the one area that I look at is graphics improvement, and there's one code in particular, he goes by the name of Gregory, he's one of the coders. He's been optimizing OpenGL heavily, and in fact when it comes to compatibility and performance, it's not only on par but in some cases better than Direct3D. So whether you're using Windows or Linux or Mac OS,
That's going to be a good thing
yeah.
going forward. And of course Dolphin is following suit. At least last time I checked, Dolphin has had stability improvements. I can't necessarily say that the graphics have improved in most games, but it's more like consolidating what they had done before from Windows 8.1 and just making the whole program more stable going forward, as in there is no...
What I love about Dolphin is that the way it's designed, it's platform agnostic. Because you have Dolphin on Windows, you have it on Mac, you have it on Linux, it's even on Android.
Quick note, Dolphin is a Nintendo GameCube and Wii emulator.
Yes.
Just in case you don't know.
Yeah, I should probably prompt that. When it comes to emulators, it's one of the most impressive emulation
Yes.
projects I've ever seen. Because the amount of people consistently working on it and the talent pool that it attracts, and the way they write articles every month to showcase the progress that they've made and showing examples of what issue there was before and what the result of fixing it is, and a basic explanation
It's incredibly well organized at this point.
the facet of that bug that they sorted. It definitely gives you much better appreciation of how the hardware functions, the efforts that is involved to translate that into the emulator. But of course, assuming you are interested to that degree.
I think
And
you
funnily
guys
enough,
could have a whole
um,
show on emulation.
the Dolphin the Dolphin project has been doing these monthly reports for, as far as I know, at least for the last year and a half to two. And if you go to the PCSX2 website, they're starting to do the same thing.
Oh, no.
So they already have 2 monthly reports following the same
Pattern.
setup. So
I
that's
guess,
very cool.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
One last bit about Windows 10 before you forget.
I'm not moving, by the way, to Windows yet. Just saying.
Really, Sujay?
I'm still on 8.1. I'm not gonna go.
Also, the ubiquitous get
No,
Windows
it's
10 for free thing is just being ignored.
No, I'm just canceling that stupid thing. Although Mike found a way to disable that notification thing.
You went
So
You can either uninstall.
I just-
You can either uninstall a specific update that introduced it, and this applies to Windows 7 and 8. So you can either remove this particular update, or what I do is I open Task Manager. I look at the exe, the service of this app
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
GWX.
Go to its folder, change the security properties on that exe, and then just simply remove the .exe extension so it cannot run.
yeah, sounds like a mission. I didn't know.
No, it's not. It's not difficult
not
at all.
Well, I'm
you're
new,
just
so-
changing attributes.
I'm
Yeah.
So really,
Attributes is a big word.
file
I'm not
properties,
editing
Sujay.
any of this, by the way.
But the thing I've noticed, staying on Windows 10, seeing as I'm alone, they've started pushing for exclusive content to the Windows 10 store,
Yeah.
and the first thing
Surprise,
will be
surprise.
Yeah.
Well, they're not competing with Valve, apparently, according
no,
to...
of course.
No, not at all.
Because they embrace and respect what Steam has done for the PC gaming platform. Yeah.
we want Steam to
Yeah.
do well, they say.
They're such...
Fable Legends is the first casualty.
Fable
A
Legends.
new game that has to do well,
Yeah.
bearing in mind that it's free to play, in quotes, it has to do really well to catch everyone's attention. And
Wait,
they're
so-
making it exclusive to the Windows 10 store.
Well, okay, they are the ones developing it. But I thought, like, when you said exclusive content, I thought you meant if you play it
No,
on Windows, we'll give you this. But if you're
No,
playing it on
dude,
something else,
I'm saying that the full game is
Yeah.
exclusive to the store.
it's
forget-
only for
forget
Windows
about part-
PCs,
yeah.
basically. Yeah, no, that's...
And I would assume that you'd have to sign into a Microsoft account, which I've never made to this day, to access everything in said title.
Yeah.
It's shooting yourself in the foot, honestly speaking. Really, it's sad in a way.
Microsoft monopolizing the operating system space over the last 20 years plus
Well,
is why the majority of PC gaming evolves around Windows. Now, it's not strictly just Microsoft twisting arms and being assholes. It's also the fact that they invested a lot more time and talent in making sure DirectX is a potent API to use. Proof of this, just look at John Carmack, for example. For the longest time, he advocated OpenGL. And over the last couple of years, he said DirectX has not only reached equivalent feature set, but actually does better in certain circumstances. And of course, the entire ecosystem is influenced by this. This is why what Valve has done in creating SteamOS and using Linux as a basis. The progress and development for gaming and the attention to make Linux a viable platform over the last 2 years is exponentially higher than I've seen prior to Valve participating in this.
yeah, it's definitely...
That in itself, I personally believe, is far better off for gamers as a whole.
Yeah.
Yes, you can look at Steam as a DRM platform, which is fair enough. Steam on the PC space dominates the majority interest from gamers and developers.
True.
But at the very least, what they are doing is that they are not specifying that a game can be only Steam only. They don't cockblock. Because there are plenty of games that you can find on GOG and Steam at the same time. They're playing well together. And on top
Which
of
is
that,
amazing in itself, by the way.
yeah, and Steam supports more than one operating system.
True.
And despite Valve using Linux, they are not closing the gates in that if you want to play games, you can only use Steam OS. Or whatever updates and fixes they make is only for Steam OS and the rest of the Linux ecosystem is fucked. No. In regards to PC gaming, they have contributed far... With
more,
what actually matters, it's far more substantial and healthier for us in the long run. When it comes to Microsoft, this is a problem. The day that they created the Xbox, the original one, and they now created that branch in their company.
No.
And from the partial success of that, but more so from the Xbox 360 platform, of which the Xbox platform in itself, from the last time I checked, is a main significant financial factor for Microsoft. It's one of the most profitable facets of their operations. The moment they did that, they lost the control and influence that they had
Over the
gaming.
PC gaming space.
on gaming, beyond the fact that everyone has been up until this point dependent on their platform and their APIs. Now, Microsoft know full well, even though they may not admit this, they know full well that what Valve are doing is going to be a game changer. And they also know that consoles as they are at this point in time are not going to exist as it is much longer. So, they want to keep control of their Xbox platform, and they also want to keep control of the PC gaming space. So, it's a matter of following the logic. The latest DirectX 12 API, Windows 10 only. Okay, they pulled this shit before with
Vista.
With DX11. Although Vista, they did bring DX11 support to it.
How much later though?
Shortly after.
Okay,
I know that Vista has DX11 support, but DX12 is only Windows 10. This is the problem though. DX10 has been designed in mind to promote PC gaming and basically share the Xbox branding and platform between the Xbox One and PC.
What do you
Or
mean?
rather, Windows 10.
Between both pieces of hardware.
The
basically.
Xbox platform being the equivalent of Steam of Microsoft's,
Right.
which has been the basis on their Xbox platform, 360 and Xbox One.
Case in point.
Now they are placing this in Windows 10 inherently. And so now this is going to be the beginning of them bringing games into their ecosystem only available on Windows 10. So for users who say, you know what, I don't really mind about DX12, it's all good. The problem is there are going to be a few games, and depending on the success of this platform, the number unfortunately will probably increase. That it won't be enough simply to ignore DX12. Because even if there's a DX9 or DX11 game that is going to be dedicated to the Xbox platform, you will have no choice but to use Windows 10 for it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait to see what SteamOS do, and I'm probably not gonna move to Windows 10. Till at least they sort out their privacy. I'm not gonna even consider it.
But
Well,
you know what's very scary?
What?
Like Mike had explained about some games being very, very API, even considered API and OS specific. They could change the Xbox app that's already in existence on Windows 10 into like a front on its own, and tell you, you know what, you need to have full support for this app. Certain games will be only sold through this app, supported by DX12 alone, and with crossplay with the Xbox, whatever comes down the line, Xbox One, Xbox 2, whatever. But that's a scenario that I feel would actually, it may happen sooner rather than later. And that's why the likes of Valve are really rushing with their support for, I don't know why we haven't mentioned the Vulkan API, but well, the next generation OpenGL, if I'm not mistaken. So
Vulkan
That in
is a low level graphics API from the Kronos group, which are responsible for creating quite a few open standards that we have access to. OpenGL, OpenGL ES, OpenCL, so on and so forth. So Vulkan is the free open version of DirectX 12, or the counter to it.
So ostensibly there is a fighting chance because of course SteamOS will support the Vulkan API, including all their machines, and Linux actually does have full support at this point in time.
For Vulkan.
Yes, I do believe so.
The Vulkan specs are being finalized at the moment, and it will, assuming things go to plan, it should be available for developers to have access to and start learning and testing come the end of this year, December. So during the course of 2016, we could start seeing games using Vulkan. Now, Vulkan is not going to be a complete replacement for OpenGL. OpenGL will still be valuable and it will still be improved, but Vulkan will mainly be helpful when you have a lot of detail and draw calls necessary that OpenGL could not handle at a reasonable frame.
And that
and reasonable FPS.
And DX has a history of marking up with that from DX11. Case in point, Assassin's Creed Unity.
No, let's not go there.
If Unity had used DX12,
Let's not go there. You just dove right in.
look, just to be fair, yeah. Look, the game itself is fine, despite the fact that it's rinse and repeat pretty much of all the Assassin's Creed games, and the charm of the story itself has been lost, in my opinion.
Which is really unfortunate.
But at least from a technical standpoint, assuming Assassin's Creed games from this point onward, based on the incremental scale that Ubisoft are using to make the game, if they use DX12 or Vulkan, those kind of performance issues should disappear, assuming they don't go completely overboard. And they're technically competent to program it properly.
So speaking of, would changing a whole game's API support be as simple as patching the property? Like, could you see games that require a lot of streaming? Let's see more examples such as Dragon Age Inquisition, maybe the Wild Hunt, as well the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
I don't know for sure. But what I do know is if you look at older games like Unreal Tournament or Unreal Tournament 3, using Vulkan on it, you're not going to see massive gains. The two powerful things about Vulkan and DirectX when it comes to low level access is that it's a far more efficient and refined process of creating graphics. I'm not going to go in too technical, but it just makes the process far more efficient. But in order for it to be efficient, the developers and the programmers have a lot more work to do on their side to make it function properly. So the success of it and of the performance of the API itself in the game is going to be dependent on its implementation in the actual engine and the game developers, what they're actually doing with it.
Which would mean that it's far better for them to consider to make provisions for the APIs at at a conceptual level, as opposed for starters.
Yeah.
See how their new engines can be can utilize these new APIs before.
Source 2 is obviously up at the top when it comes to really pushing Vulkan support. I don't remember if I'd read that Valve are not going to support DX12. I don't recall. I remember seeing something along those lines, but I don't know that for sure. But the Source 2 engine has Vulkan support, and I know that Unreal Engine 4 is definitely working on including Vulkan support as well. So for future games at much bigger scale, those will be set by default. And if you have two big engines and companies implementing it, the rest will follow suit.
What about Unity?
Unity, at the moment, I think they're implementing DX12, and I know that they're implementing Metal, which is Apple's equivalent. It's a hybrid.
Yes, yeah.
It's a genre of music.
But with Vulkan, they're not adding it yet until the spec is actually officially out.
It's a construction material. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm sure CryEngine will as well. All the big ones will.
I think we'll see when the time comes, I guess. In other news, MKX cancelled development on the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of that game.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. That did surprise me.
Well,
Honestly, it surprised me.
I
I was kind of disappointed as well.
I don't know. Maybe we can wax technical on this one. I assume Mortal Kombat 10 is powered by Unreal Engine 4. 3.
Yeah.
Okay, then at this point it's a very unfortunate because I can think of no excuse.
They said that they couldn't reach the
Fidelity
the standards that they had set. The quality was not
for an
good enough.
for
so
an
they-
Unreal Engine game.
No, to bring it to the Xbox 360 and PS3, they couldn't reach that quality, so they cancelled that. Is the official report?
Yeah. And this is why MGS Phantom Pain, which I think is far more impressive, will be coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Xbox 360 and PS3.
Listen, I was disappointed. By
With
that.
hardly
You
any
see-
performance losses between platforms. Really.
This is a problem. When studios mess up, and they mess up by being dishonest, and
Pretty
we
much.
never really fully get the picture why it happened to begin with, there is doubt and skepticism that is born there.
Yeah.
Now, you just mentioned Warner Brothers, and based on how they're cocking up, you just assume that this is another bullshit tactic.
Yeah, this is just pure stuff.
One way to look at it is, yes, you can take it at face value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's say if it's the graphics or the performance is not up to par, especially when everyone has been exposed to MK10 based on current gen standard, PS4,
Yes.
Xbox One,
Yes.
PC.
Yeah.
Fine. But on the other hand, the amount of PS3 users and Xbox 360 users is still substantially higher than
Then-
current gen platforms.
That's what I was.
So, in regards to making cash, would make more sense, and PS3 owners know that this is a PS3. The PS4 is obviously newer, meaning that it's by default going to look better.
And look at the games libraries. Like, why would you want to have a PS4? I mean, you can play the same games, the definitive edition.
Which
Like,
brings us.
which
Which
is
brings
so-
us.
Did you see the Dishonored Definitive Edition video comparison
No,
between the PS4 and the Xbox 360?
no.
No, I didn't. I really wasn't bothered. I think I have it on PC.
Aside from increased resolution, and I think there were one or two textures on a random wall that was slightly more refined.
That's
It looks exactly the same.
really.
I saw this video on YouTube, and all the comments are like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Like, you know, thank you for showing me this video. Now I know that I don't need to pay for this.
But
But why would you?
For the sake
if you've
of it,
already
listen.
played the game. I'm sorry, it's not.
Look.
It's not a good enough.
isn't the
Hell-
definitive edition the
Hell's
Dishonored
99,
gets?
Hell's 99, I've discussed this in the past, and Hell's 9 saw from the beginning
as soon
that
as
a
The
great
Last
deal of
Us-
titles are going to be definitive remasters
As
now.
soon as they did The Last of Us, I said, "What?"
From my perspective, there are two reasons to do this. One is the blatant cash grab,
True.
okay?
Okay.
And that also reflects that the library of games on these platforms at the moment is pretty poor, compared to the previous launches of the previous platforms, yeah? But there's a technical facet that everyone needs to keep in mind. The Xbox One, PS4 are sharing x86 architecture, like PC, okay? Now, all the big popular games they can't be emulated. It's not like with the PS3, like the PS2 you could emulate PS1, or the PS3 where you could emulate PS1 and have some success in emulating PS2, unless you're fortunate enough to have the very first model of the PS3 that actually had PS2 hardware in it.
Yeah, the emotion chip, was it?
They cannot emulate it. And one thing Sony wanted to do, I forgot what the name of the platform that they purchased was. It began with A. But anyway, they basically wanted to stream PS3 games to the PS4. So basically the emulation and so on is done on their end and they just transmit the results of it. Very unlikely that's going to happen. So the only option to entice people to move from the PS3 to PS4, since they can't do backward compatibility, they actually port the games native. And Definitive Edition is just, marketing fluff. But
Or
down
character
the line,
connections.
if a PS5 comes out, it's still going to be x86 based. So
Yeah.
any games you purchase on the PS4 will work on the PS5 onward. I'm hoping Sony and Microsoft stick with that mindset because then that is a more acceptable justification
There'll be
Exactly.
the VR edition.
for this Definitive Edition spree that seems
No,
to be
there'll
going
be the
on.
VR edition of the same stuff over and over again.
Well, they are.
I feel
They do give different names to the same thing. You know, now some companies call them remasters. That would be.
remaster.
Definitive Edition is far more vague
Yeah.
because it's saying this is the best version at this point in time.
Yeah.
It's
It's-
an absolute
yeah.
finest.
Of
And,
basic
all we
principles like
did was
increased
add
resolution.
particle effects.
No, not even that. Just
Like,
increase the
it's-
resolution, unlock the FPS cap from 30 to 60 FPS, and actually market that as if they are doing us a favor and this is some
Yeah.
revolutionary feature that now we have more than
And
30
now you
FPS.
can- yeah,
While
it's
PC
just-
gaming has been rocking this shit since 1887.
Oh wow.
That cannot be confirmed.
Well.
At this point.
1887 is yeah.
It's a very
Dude, even NES was playing games at 60 FPS, so stop fucking bullshit.
it's true. It's true.
You want to justify and defend the pimpness of your machine, I get
It's
that, but don't
artistic.
bullshit us, because we know this shit.
All the way from the 8-bit to
And,
the
and
32-bit.
all you're doing is opening the door to be taken the piss out of, so kindly stop fucking with us. Anyway, enough of my cynical ranting.
No, I mean, yeah.
No. Look,
Did
look.
you-
Facts,
yeah.
facts are there to be aired. They need
Yeah.
to be. They need to be said. How you digest it is up to you. You know, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know. These definitive editions. Look, even on a per title basis, you have. We discussed Dishonored. That I assume is already the Game of the Year edition available. That has been available, like from forever. Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs had its own definitive edition with increased draw distance. Some claps. Moving on. Extra population.
But there are some exceptions to this remastering process. Look at the Uncharted series.
The Nathan
The,
Drake
the
collection.
Uncharted, yes, exactly.
Okay,
Which is
fine,
basically
fair
the original trilogy that was on the PS3. They are actually improving the game itself.
With
Okay?
ambient occlusion. Okay, self-shadowing looks
The
good.
assets are going to be touched up, and it will be at 60 FPS.
Look,
Okay, now
Uncharted-
that's a plus. That's a
Uncharted
plus. What do you
1
need?
could have used an update.
All three are getting touch-ups. So if a developer is going to do that for the sake of wanting to remaster the original game, whether it's because that's the vision that they want or for the technical reason of bringing older games from a previous architecture onto a newer one, and if the newer architecture is the standard moving forward, that the machines that you use using forward will play it, personally I'm okay with
But
that.
if it's going to keep some obscure titles alive coming down the line, you know what? I suppose I'm all for it, especially for the PS3. You know, they really have to consider getting some titles out there, you know, redone or whatever before they just, you know, poof up and go up to just become obscure and disappear completely. You know, think about it. Something like Nino Kuni maybe.
Nino Kuni does not need a definitive edition.
But what if it just disappears off our libraries, you know, just for the purpose
Then-
of, you know, you don't own a PlayStation 3 and you can't get one anymore?
Yeah.
Could that be a fair
The game
argument
as
for
it is,
the...
if it's ported over to PS4 and they just increase the res,
That's
um,
it, you know.
I don't know if it will make such a huge difference to unlock the FPS cap, because
No, I'm talking about, you know,
the
making
response
it alive.
rate required from the game, it won't make such a huge difference.
It is
between the two.
turn-based. It is a turn-based game, right?
No, I'm
Yeah.
just saying in terms of obscure titles of the PlayStation 3 library. and
be nice.
versus
But
keeping them alive
thing
for
is,
years down the line.
it's all about marketing. You can't just say this is the PS3 version brought to PS4. You need to add additional incentive to justify paying for the same thing again.
See, I would rather a Ni no Kuni 2 got made with those funds that were put in, and rather than play the first one remastered.
Then would
if
this
I had
then
already
would
played
would we
the
give
first
an
one.
argument for say the current incarnation of say the PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, whatever, the come and produce digital versions of these old games that would get lost down the line?
Just
All of this, the evolution of consoles, is basically following the principles of PC.
I'm trying to play the devil's
Yeah.
advocate.
Moving to one architecture and being sensible to maintain that moving forward. PC again has been rocking that for ages.
yeah, basically Valve did this a while ago when they
Yes, it's
introduced
called Steam.
yeah, and they got a lot of flack for it at that time apparently. But I mean, look at it now.
Well,
And the thing is, Valve has their own interests, okay? They need to make money at the end of the day. I'm not arguing. Look, you guys know me, and irrespective of whether humanity can function with or without money, is something that's up to us down the line. But at this point in time, obviously we need money. But there is a way to make money based off being considerate of people and nurturing the positive qualities of humanity. If you do that, you gain the respect and trust of people. Which is why Valve has done very well. And whenever anything controversial comes up that's critical, based on their responses, you can see that they are considerate of that. Whether it's because they genuinely feel that way or they want to protect their platform, I can't say for sure. I'm always hopeful that it's the former, but in any case, ultimately, it's to the gamer's benefit.
they do it
Not-
much
not-
better. They do it much better than the
Valve's still-
competition.
Valve's customer support are still like you've heard how bad that they could be, but recently they did implement the refund policy.
Yes,
So
which
it
has
does
been
show,
a godsend.
yeah, it does show like a positive
And,
move forward for them.
and in
But
regards
I'm
to
still
getting
still
feedback,
skeptical about everything.
that's
I
absolutely
think it's
fine because that's the only way that they keep on their toes.
yeah.
Exactly.
But then you have assholes like Microsoft that start pulling this kind of shit and expecting us to go, oh, okay, that's understandable. No, fuck you.
We'll give you a hoodie. Yeah,
Good lord.
we'll give you a
It's-
hoodie. Speaking of stupid game philosophy, the microtransactions in Metal Gear Solid 5's multiplayer, and they're not cosmetic.
But do we really care about multiplayer in Metal Gear Solid?
Yes, because it could be a lot of fun. Look, the pay-to-win concept, when in order for you to progress in a game, that you have to pay, that is messed up. That's genuine pay to win.
Exactly.
No, so
But
this-
now the lines are kind of blurred a bit. Where yeah, you can play, but it's gonna take you 15 hours average to unlock this.
Whereas
But
for
if you
someone
give us a
else,
bit of your cash,
yeah.
we'll expedite that process. They're both shit.
In a convenient fashion, of course.
Yeah.
We're paying for cheats, basically.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what it is. It's paying
we
for
are paying
cheats.
for cheats.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cheats are
congratulations.
no
Level
longer
up,
skill based. I mean, honestly, we used to finish games before we were given a nice reward. You know what? Cheat on a few things, break the code, and now we have to pay for cheats. As in, really?
But as usual, power and money fucks everything up. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. So Project Blue Streak, which is Cliff Blazinski's
Oh,
IP,
you mean
it's now
Lawbreakers?
called Lawbreakers, yeah. And yeah, it looks okay. It looks like basically everything else that's out right now.
Look,
it looks like
in my-
Overwatch. It looks like Battleborn. It looks like
For
one of
me,
those.
it feels like a super agile version of, well, Gears of War again. I don't know. The art style
Gears?
is still.
It looks like it's multiplayer focused.
What
I
is,
think it was.
Is it BioWare, Blizzard? Their upcoming
That's still
FPS.
Overwatch.
Yes,
Overwatch,
Overwatch. It
yeah.
reminds me of that.
Yeah, it looks like Overwatch. It looks like Battleborn as well, which is 2K.
I would say it's a riff on Battleborn from the latest things we've seen. Of course,
the same. Yeah. Recording. Yeah.
The only cool thing I saw in that snippet of the trailer is the fact that you can shoot people behind you.
The only thing I saw
That's
in that
pretty much
trailer
it.
that I thought was cool is you can swing in and stab someone with the melee character.
we've been doing that since Unreal Tournament.
No, we've been doing it since. Swinging? Unreal Tournament had swinging?
No, you jump
No,
in the
I mean
air
like
and-
Spider-Man swing. She can like Spider-Man
No, no,
swing,
no.
and she has like swords. Like,
I'm
sort of,
talking.
like,
I'm talking close distance to your target from up on high. Higher
No,
elevation,
I'm
and
talking
kill
about,
them.
I'm talking about swinging Spider-Man style.
Okay, fine.
But
fair
we'll see.
enough.
We'll see.
I'll give them. I'll give them
Yeah.
that. But again, Battleborn.
Look, Cliff is responsible for bringing a lot of fun in my life, especially with Unreal Tournament series. Not so much with Gears of War,
Yes.
Yeah.
because I only played
Exclusive.
because I only
To
played
Xbox.
Gears of War 1 because apparently Gears of War 2 and 3 had nothing to do with promoting the Xbox 360, but it was about the fact that PC gamers are absolute pirates.
So yeah.
But I give him the benefit of the doubt and let's see when there's a bit more footage.
Exactly.
But
it's still early days.
The
It's still
initial
early
impression
days.
was a bit meh.
Yeah. Let's
True.
wait and see. Well, it
Yeah.
just got announced yesterday or 2 days ago. So.
We may not. Maybe we're not being fair.
No,
let's give,
I
let's
mean,
give them some months
let's
and
see.
come back to
Like
it.
I think after Overwatch and Battleborn pick up,
Yeah,
we'll
it's-
see
it's-
what the
yeah.
what the market is like. It's sort of like it feels like they're trying to emulate the success of like League of Legends MOBAs and that kind of
Exactly,
stuff. They're trying to do
exactly.
that with FPSs, which Team
And we
Fortress
really-
had, but yeah.
And we really
Whatever.
can't say anything for sure because guess what? We cannot play any of these games
What?
until they are released.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
So
So, yeah. I think the other two were in beta, but I don't know how to get in. Overwatch.
Well, my mantra has
I think they're
always
exclusive,
my mantra
but
has
I don't
always
know for
been
sure, 'cause-
complete your early access, complete your beta, give me a full game.
Overwatch is Blizzard, right? Or
Overwatch
Yes.
was Blizzard.
Yeah, Blizzard,
And
okay.
Battleborn was the 2K.
Gearbox.
okay.
Yeah.
Gearbox as
Yeah.
an original Borderlands team, and then we have Lawbreakers,
Now there's
formerly
Lawbreakers.
known as Project Blue
Isn't
Streak.
Gearbox's project like an FPS MOBA?
Yes,
Yeah, which is what
Battleborn
Overwatch is, which is what this one looks like.
I really hope it's not.
Let's see. We haven't tried them, to be honest. And
We really
and you
can't.
know, I'm saying like an FPS MOBA, but really, it sounds like it's a mode in TF2,
Well,
which is pretty old.
Team Fortress has been there forever.
Yeah, it's a
It's-
granddaddy. So, I don't know. We'll see when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
It could be fun.
Hopefully.
Let's see.
Hopefully.
That's all the stuff that I had to talk about. Did you guys have anything else?
I think we played off each other, especially Mike and I. It was
Yeah, it was. The show went well. It's gone pretty
Yeah,
well.
so I hope all three listeners are pleasantly entertained.
Yeah, riveting.
And to keep in mind, this is our first attempt at this, and at least on my end, I've been suffering hardcore brain farts throughout this talk.
For me, it was during the emulation. As
well
you'll
for me. It's
notice.
maintaining chemistry with the rest of the team.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Anyways, I
Love.
am Hell's Knight. You can follow me on Facebook.com. Look for me. I'm Hell's Knight Sujay. And we'll put updates in case we do more of these. The ideal thing is to do these weekly, but let's see how this one goes.
And of course, for the three listeners,
Yeah.
any feedback is appreciated, whether good or bad.
Well, we'll see about that. If you tell me to jump off a building, I will tell you to do the same.
Obviously,
I
within
won't
reason.
lie. Yeah.
Within reason.
Within reason, yeah.
Constructive feedback is always welcome. Don't listen to Sujay.
Yeah, constructive feedback is welcome. No.
Oh yeah, and fuck Konami and fuck Microsoft.
Do you guys want to tell people where to follow you, or you're okay?
Just follow me in spirit for now.
You can follow me on Facebook under the same Ted Okacha.
All right.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, have a great weekend. Yeah. Catch you later.
You know what will be funny? Is that this whole time it wasn't actually recording.
Don't say that. No, wait. I need to stop it.